Hi and welcome to the Corporate Warriors podcast, Women's Career Accelerator. I'm your host Vela, and in this episode we're going to talk about your unique skills and strengths. So to start off the topic, why is it so important that you as women understand what your unique skills and strengths are? Well, first and foremost, what we are really good at oftentimes comes very naturally to us, which gives the wrong conclusion that it's easy for everybody. So it's really, really important for you to understand what your unique strengths are in order to be able to position yourself in the work environment, in order to actively engage in topics where you can use your unique skills and strengths. And also that you can monetize on them, right? Because in the end, we're here for this career success, which also includes great salaries and nice wages. So yes, it's really, really important for you to understand and have a clear picture of your unique strengths. Let's take, for instance, Ronaldinho or some world famous soccer player, whoever it is really. What can we learn from taking a look at these kinds of people? Very often, they are really passionate about the thing it is they're doing, like in this case, playing soccer. They love doing it, they have always loved doing it. It was something that came more easy to them than to others. I don't say they didn't need to train, but it came easier to them than to others. And they developed way faster than others, right? And the good thing is, nobody cares about what Ronaldinho really does in his free time. I mean, tabloid perhaps does, but it does not concern his market value. What concerns his market value, or what defines his market value, is uniquely what he does for a job, for a living, which is playing soccer, right? So it is really important for you to have a clear vision on your unique strengths in order to monetize on them and to use them strategically. In my career personally, it was a pivotal moment when I understood what I am, what is it that makes Vela unique. The things that made me unique were sometimes things that I knew about and sometimes things I did not yet consider unique. So the exercise that we're talking about today and the things that I'll tell you today are really things that I worked through myself because I wanted to position myself and to be set up for career success. And in order to do so, I needed to understand what my strengths are and also, but not as importantly, what my weaknesses are. In the broader term, like in a longer term, we'll also consider the whole SWOT analysis, and we'll also take the environment into consideration with the opportunities and the threats. But we'll start now with the internal analysis, which are the strengths and the weaknesses. In order to do that, I want you to really take, let's say, 30 minutes of your life and sit down with a piece of paper and do brainstorming. Do a brainstorming, a mind map, a list, however it feels right to you. And think about the things that you love doing, that you enjoy doing. The kinds of projects where you're like, what? An hour just went by? I didn't even realize. Time seems to be flying. What are the things where when you worked on them, you really didn't want to stop, even though it was already 6 o'clock in the evening? Because you were so eager to finish the project because you liked doing it so much, or because you knew that this is going to provide great value for your team, for your company, for yourself ultimately. So this auto-motivation, this motivation while doing something, this great feeling of like, yes, that's it. That's what we need to do. Like people, for instance, that love making plans. There's nothing more satisfying to them than making an amazing, clearly overviewed, step-by-step kind of plan, right? And there's other people that are really not like that. They're more the creative kinds. And we do need both for great project success. So it's important that when you come into a new team or a new project, that you know what your skills and strengths are so that you can play that role in the team and that you do not get assigned for a task that you would fail in. All that being said, sometimes it is really hard for us to figure out what we're good at because it comes so naturally, so we devalue it. We think it's easy for everybody and we only see the things that we need to improve. So if you're not a person with a huge self-confidence just yet, you can also take a look at it from the other way around. You can also make a list of all the things that you hate. For some people, that is way easier. So make a whole list. Use the brainstorming to think about all the things that you hate. And once you feel like you've written down everything, then start flipping it. Sometimes you can really flip it like 180 degrees and see what's the opposite. Like if you do not like being creative, perhaps you like really clear-cut planning, right? Or vice versa. There are people that like both, I know, I'm one of them, but just as an example. Perhaps you hate teamwork, so perhaps you're more like the subject matter expert kind of person. Okay, so make that list and then flip it, because we do want to talk about the strengths here. The weaknesses is something in addition, we will talk about it a little bit later, but here in the first step, it's really about the strengths. So you think about the things you love, where time flies by, the things that you really enjoy, the things that come naturally to you, or the things that you hate, and then you flip them and see what is kind of the counterpart to it. So even writing down what you hate is just a way to get your brain going and to get to think into a certain direction that you can use afterwards. Sometimes it's just important to open up that door for the opportunities and for the ideas to come in. Also think about, when doing that, about different situations throughout your career. What were, for instance, projects that went well or didn't go well, so you can reflect on why that was the case or why you considered it to be like that. You can think about feedbacks that you've gotten from coworkers or from a boss. All of these nice things, right? Just go through different assignments and different things that happened throughout your career and how they made you feel. Really try to remember, when was a time that I just felt so lighthearted and where I was delighted to work in my company or to do my job, and try to figure it out through the emotion that came with it and make that list. And yes, potentially the list is not complete, right? So what we want to do in order to complete it is now in the second step to get some external perspective on our internal analysis. In order to do that, there are two important things that you need to consider. First, we only do that with people that we trust. And second, with people that we know only want the best for us. No one else. And now with those two filters, think about your network. It can be family, it can be colleagues, it can be bosses or former bosses, it can be co-workers or like people you studied with, friends, family. And pick out 6 people, ideally from different parts of your life, that fit to your filter criteria, that they only want the best for you and you trust them. And now you ask them specific questions. What do you think I'm really, really good at? What do you think might be a weakness of me? Feel free to get creative and add a third or fourth question. Just don't make it too big. Don't make it too much of a hurdle. And then you approach them. You approach them really openly and say, hey, look, I'm currently working on my career planning and I would love to have your insights. You know me so well. And I would love for you to give me your feedback on those questions. And now it starts to get really interesting. Because now, once you get one feedback after another, you start to see patterns. And the patterns are very, very likely the things that you absolutely excel in. The things where your unique strength is just enormous, just tremendous. And you can also perhaps find some weaknesses and find some tactics to work around them. Me personally, I've done exactly that task, exactly that project on my own. Nobody was really telling me to do it. I really came up with it all by myself because I was thinking I should navigate my career more precisely and be more concise about my next steps. And I wanted to use my strengths even better and find solutions for my weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses. Sometimes a solution can be not to go into a certain direction and you can like ship around it and it doesn't matter because your subject matter is somewhere else. Sometimes the weakness can also, you can find like a person that you work with that can take over certain other topics, that you do a division of labor. It can be also that you find tactics. So personally for me, what was the overlap that I knew I was good at, but that became really reinforced when people, like the other people, were talking about what they thought my unique strengths and weaknesses are, was interpersonal communication and this empathic kind of communication where you connect really quickly, really deeply with people. And also here, I thought that was normal. Like it was something that came to me really naturally to quickly build up those relationships. So I did not really think that it was that important. I kind of knew it, but I wasn't really admitting it to myself potentially. So that was great, right? So now I had already a clear pattern of things that I was really good at. And now for the weaknesses, one person I'm really grateful for her to tell me that was that she told me, I think you're really strong in communication, like a strong communicator, like in real life situations. Obviously, sometimes here I do my mistakes as a German, but in the real life situations to really adapt my communication to the other person in the room, right? And to figure out a way to communicate with them in order for them to understand what we need or like to get on the same boat. And what she said, what she thinks a weakness from me is, on the other hand, is going into conflict, which is also a sort of communication. So it's important to make those distinctions. And now you could say, well, we want to strengthen our strengths, right? Not find our weaknesses, which is true. But for some weaknesses, you just need to find tactics. So for me, she said two more things that were so great. Exactly one thing, actually, that was really great, which was she knew that I was so, engaging and so passionate about development, personal and professional development. And she told me, well, if you're not able to go into a conflict situation or to give somebody negative feedback, you basically make it impossible for that person to develop. Is that something that you want? And it's really profoundly something that I do not want. I want to grow myself, but I would love to see other people around me grow. I think that is even more satisfying if you grow together in a team than if it's just you or yourself that you're growing. So that was really having a huge impact on me and how I saw conflicts and these kinds of situations. And then I was doing a little bit of research. I was remembering, I did some communication class, and there were some tactics that you can use in order to go into conflict without really confronting somebody directly, but trying to start really neutrally, right? Start to describe the situation without giving any adjectives, just saying exactly what has happened very neutrally, and then afterwards say how that made you feel, or then going into the situation of discussing the more personal point to it, which is a tactic that I can use everywhere now whenever a conflict situation arises for me, whenever I need to give some negative feedback. So it was gold. It was gold for me. So I'm really excited to hear how that goes for you if you do that kind of feedback from your inner circle. And then it's just relieving to have a clear vision of what you can do and what you excel at, because then you can actively integrate that into your career. For instance, using your positioning. It can be at your current employer or at a future employer if you're searching a job somewhere else at another company. How do you position yourself? Obviously, your strength should be in the center of your positioning. It's naturally what we're good at. If it's fun to you, if you love doing it, make it the corner pillar of your personal branding, of your positioning. Actively seek out projects, assignments, or new jobs where your skills and the things that you love doing are needed. Because if it's exactly what the company needs, then your value to that company just increases a lot. You can also use that to form very concise interview questions that you want to ask a potential new employer when looking for that new opportunity. So they know exactly what they're getting. They understand that you are really considerate, that you know what you're talking about, you know what you want and need. And if it's a fit, they will potentially be willing to pay you way more than somebody else who's less concise, who's less aware. Because with you, they know they have somebody that they can trust with that skill. That they trust that you using that skill in that company will provide the biggest value to the company because it will help them achieve their goals quicker and reach their objectives. So I would say that's a wrap. Start doing your list of your unique strengths. It will help your confidence, and it will just be so much more fun if you can integrate the things that you actually love doing more and more in your work day. So thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear what your strengths and skills are that you think are unique to you in the comments. And as usual, please like and subscribe. See you next time.